Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. The expectations of Nigerians from the new government of President Muhammadu Buhari can be said to be high. But since he took office almost a month ago, not much has been seen, especially in terms of setting up structures for effective takeoff of the administration. Besides looking forward to the change promised by the ruling party during its electioneering campaigns, most Nigerians are itching to see the president's cabinet constituted. In this next report, our political correspondent Seun Okinbaloye takes a look at the concerns over the composition of the cabinet, which some experts say will tell the direction the new administration may be headed.
It is almost a month since President Muhammadu Buhari took oath of office. In short, he is in the fourth week of his 4-year tenure in office.
Becomes the standard of political conduct.
For a president who has promised to hit the ground running when he assumes office, so much is expected of him. One major expectations from many Nigerians is that the president must have designed a team that will work with him since winning the March 28 presidential elections. But so far, the president has made only 3 appointments. That was 3 weeks ago. That of his media aides, Mr. Femi Adesina and Malam Garba Shehu, and the state chief protocol, Malam Abdullahi Kazare.
Request for your kind consideration and approval of the distinguished members of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to appoint 15 special advisors.
The president was said to have sought the approval of the Senate to appoint 15 more advisors, which the 7th Assembly approved. That's over 2 weeks now. Not so much has been heard about those. Considering the huge responsibility on the ground, economic and security challenges staring everyone in the face, getting the team down to work is an expectation many Nigerians hold too dearly. Looking back, President Buhari's predecessor, former President Goodluck Jonathan, appointed his minister 6 weeks after taking oath of office. That's after the 2011 elections. He named members of his cabinet on 11th of July 2011. Expectations are definitely high on the nature of President Buhari's cabinet.
If the government succeeds in putting round pegs in round holes, getting a fine cabinet together, then I can make a forecast that they're going to succeed in what they have made Nigerians to expect. Because you see, a leader is as good as the men and women around him. No leader can do it alone. So if the leader has the vision and the mission, his job is to identify men and women who are competent enough to enable him actualize his dreams and expectations.
Muhammadu Buhari and his party, who say that they want to trim down the size of government, who say that they want to cut the cost of running government, but who are almost presented with the fait accompli of appointing at least one minister from each state. So you already have 36 ministers.
One day, new challenge, more pressure on the Buhari government. Delivering on the campaign promises and meeting the aspirations of many Nigerians will be a task the president must pursue vigorously. Seun Okinbaloye reporting for Channels Television News.
While Nigerians await a new federal cabinet, miners under the Progressive Miners Empowerment Association have asked the president to take urgent steps to revive the solid mineral sector. At a media briefing in Abuja, the president of the association, Mr. Sunday Akosian, said a group of miners have taken hold of the sector to the detriment of the country's economy.
The sector is in shambles. The sector is uncoordinated. The sector is in confusion. The mining sector is in captive. Few cliques have pocketed this sector in their pockets. A situation where you have somebody having 100, 200 mining licenses, just one individual, is an aberration. It's not done anywhere. Unfortunately for all, just like you have in the oil sector, where some group of cabals also will not want subsidy removed and using subsidy to siphon the wealth of the nation to very few individuals. The same thing also we are having in the solid mineral sector.
As various states in the country marked this year's International Day against drug abuse and illicit trafficking, the question of how to devise more effective ways to tackle the increasing rate of the menace came to the fore. At various sensitization forums to mark the day in different states, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency says what is needed is more collaborative efforts on the part of all Nigerians.
This poster and its write-up says it all. Stay away from illicit drugs. No great future with drugs. That's why the United Nations has set aside June the 26th to mark the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking every year across the world. Here in Imo State, southeast Nigeria, the NDLEA State Command organized a workshop for students, members of the National Youth Service Corps, and community leaders to educate them on the need to do away with drugs.
Drugs do not make heroes, but drug addicts. Drug trafficking do not make people successful, rather it makes them prisoners.
The students here think such lectures should not be restricted and should be more frequent.
I advise people out there to please do away with drugs. If you can do away with drugs, the sky is your limit.
From this lecture, they'll understand the effect of drugs. They know that the illicit drugs are harmful to the body and to the organs.
From southeast to southwest in Osun State, Youth Service Corps members observing their service under the NDLEA engage in a walk along with some NDLEA staff to create awareness on drug abuse. The state commander, Egunwoke Ekaite, during a lecture says that about 102 drug suspects have been arrested between January till date.
The NDLEA Osun State Command will not rest on its earth while these merchants of death carry on their nefarious enterprise.
In Ondo State, the state governor's wife, Olukemi Mimiko, takes time out to attend the event. Here, several drugs are displayed. The state commander advises those involved in cultivating of hard drugs to stop and instead key into the Cocoa Revolution drive introduced by the state government.
The Cocoa Revolution initiative is the most practical step towards the eradication of cannabis plantation on the one hand, and an economic revolution on the other, for a sustained socio-economic growth and development of the states.
This is what the participants here have to say.
The government can ensure that all the forest reserves are combed and to check that those drugs are not actually cultivated in those things. If the sources is dried up, definitely the issue of drug abuse will come to an end.
And in the northern part of Nigeria, according to the NDLEA commander, 15 tons of illicit drugs worth over 100 million naira have been seized from January till date.
Crimes that are committed are drug-related. In fact, most of the crimes have their roots from drugs. People who commit this crime take this drug before they execute them. And so if we can reduce the problem of drugs, I can assure you that the crime rate in the state will be reduced.
If Nigerians can imbibe this year's theme, let's develop our lives, our communities, our identities without drugs, the nation can curb the menace that has eroded families and culture.
I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by Dr. Olajumoke Kwejo, consultant psychiatrist, substance abuse unit, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos. Thanks for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you very much.
When we talk about illicit substance or drugs, what readily comes to mind is cannabis, marijuana.
Yes, heroin, cocaine.
Let's talk about the effects of these drugs in our society.
Well, from our own hospital, like 30 to 40% of the patients we admit, we see in the hospital, they're into drug use. The effect of drug use cannot be overemphasized because it's more among the youths. And you'll be shocked that drug use starts from secondary school. Most of my patients will tell me that they were introduced to it in GSS2. They're like age 13, 12, and since then they've been using drugs. And of course, by the time they get to the university, they are fully into drug use. So my own take about drug is, well, reducing demand, reducing supply.
If you talk about reducing demand and supply, some have taken, especially in Nigeria's north, they have taken to other off-the-counter drugs, even cough syrup.
Yes, codeine mixtures, yes. In fact, there's a study that was done in 2011 in Nigeria University, published, and it was realized that there was an anecdotal report about codeine mixtures, codeine cough mixtures in the school. So the study was conducted, and it was realized that about 5.3% of the students were using codeine mixtures, cough mixtures then, over Indian hemp, cannabis, which was 2.3%. So, you know, there is new invention about illicit drug use in Nigeria. And actually, physicians are following them. We're actually chasing them because every day there are new inventions. And you can't... So you'd sometimes tell you that these are the drugs. You might be outdated because there are new inventions. And every day, these inventions come and they start using them.
What truly pulled these young people to drug use?
Okay. Let me start from these young people themselves, their personality, fun-seeking. They can't delay gratification. They are very curious. That's their own personal factors that would cause it. Modeling the family. My father takes this, so I go and I follow his steps and I take. My father smokes, I take. Then society. Those drugs are seemingly allowed. Of course, officially they are not. But really in the society, these drugs are allowed. To tell you how allowed these drugs are, the man at your gate, that gate, the man that opens and closes your gate, tell him you want Indian hemp, that you want to put in your ear cream. The guy would give you. Don't tell him, just be very friendly, and that tells you how available those drugs are. Even the availability of those drugs would actually encourage them to use. Other factors, the economy, they are jobless, they are idle. What else? Even sometimes quest for success. I am this, and I want to continue to be this. I have to be on top of the game. People would pop some tablets to do that.
Any nexus between its use and crime?
Yes. Most of my patients would tell me, let me give you an example of someone. He traffics drugs out of the country, and I was not telling him that, look, it's not a good job, and he was like, doctor, tell me which better job do I have that will give me this much money. And of course, that's the drug use encourages him, the money, the returns he makes encourages him to use those drugs. Drug use, crime, absenteeism from work, break in relationships, divorce, marriage, and they go along, and those are the things that if you see a drug user, those are the things they will do. They are into all sorts of things, negative things in the society. And I think what really encourages them is that, well, I'm not a lawyer, but I think the legal implication of those drugs is not so much to them. So they can afford to continue using these drugs. They won't see it as anything.
So very quickly now, what ways can we curb all of this?
Well, like I said, reducing demand, reducing supply. How do we? I would want to tell you that treating is not the best option. Prevention is the way to go. And I would advise the public that even in secondary schools, there should be some form of drug treatment. Drug education, and in university, if it could be an elective, and all they were talking to them is just about drugs, types of drugs, the consequences, and all the effect that could have on their lives. I think that's the way to go. Education. That would at least prevent them from starting. Because once they start, they are habit-forming drugs. They want to continue.
Good a place for us to wrap this. Dr. Olajumoke Koyejo, many thanks for coming on News at 10. She's a consultant psychiatrist, substance abuse unit, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba. Still ahead on the News at 10, Taraba State Governor laments debt profile of over 20 billion naira from the past administration. Stay with us.